Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Formscan show, looking ahead to the weekend's action. I'm Vincent Finegan. I'm stepping in for Emma Nagel, who's gone away to Edinburgh for the weekend to do some Christmas shopping. So this week anyway, we have a special guest. It's Mark Boylan. Mark, we've never met, but I'm delighted to meet you. I know all about you. Well, I know some things about you at least. Welcome to the show.
We're in trouble straight away. So yeah, no, listen, great to be here. Thanks a million for giving me the shout. Look at hope Emma's eye catchers and so on has been keeping an eye on over the last couple of weeks. They must be going well if there's a shopping trip in order over in Edinburgh. So no pressure here to try and follow suit.
No, good stuff. Yeah, hopefully we'll get a few winners. Well, look, first, just about you. The first time I would have seen you was about 10 years ago in Cheltenham. I think it was the Monday night before Cheltenham races kicked off. I was in one of the bars and there you were up singing songs about Cotto Star. So now here we are 10 years later. You've done stuff for Racing Post, Irish Field. You're now on irishracing.com. You're a regular on the Friday nights on Dundalk. So what went wrong?
I was going to say, here's a highlight this morning, isn't it? But listen, I've always enjoyed my racing. It's always been what I've loved to do. From a music point of view, look, when I was younger, just had such a love for the game, and Cotto Star was my favourite horse. And look, when you're watching it, King George here over Christmas and getting really stirred up about it, I said, God, I have to do something about it. So just put together the song. And listen, sure, it's a bit of a crack now anyway. Lads, don't be afraid to remind you of those things and give you a bit of slag at now with the little hat and things like that. But listen, it was great at the time. I got some kick out of it, and met some fantastic people in the process. Cheltenham were very good to me. The Breeders' Cup as well brought me over for a song I wrote for them as well. So listen, we had great crack then, but the hard work starts now, doesn't it? We got to keep kicking, and really enjoy it. But you know yourself, when you love racing and it is your passion, there's not much gets in the way of whatever way you are. It's the real deal.
No, it's great to see. For when you were only a young kid and you were so into it, and you could see that, and you singing and writing songs about it and everything else. To see you made a career out of it is fantastic. I love to see it. So look, we're going to get stuck in. We've got a massive weekend of racing ahead, presuming it goes on. So I'll just give a quick update on some of the Saturday stuff where we stand. So we got Fairyhouse. They had -3 last night on Thursday night. They're only going to get up to 2 degrees on Friday. They have a 7:30 a.m. inspection Saturday morning. Newcastle, which is big meeting. Obviously, we've got Constitution Hill running there and Shishkin. That's got a 2:30 p.m. Friday precautionary inspection. They had 1.5 centimeters of snow overnight, so we'll know later on. We're recording this at 12 o'clock. You can see the time behind Mark's head there. And then we have Doncaster Saturday, 7:30 a.m. inspection. Their Friday meeting got abandoned because of the cold weather. Newbury, a 7:30 a.m. inspection on Saturday, and Bangor has an 8 a.m. inspection. So no race meeting is absolutely certain to go ahead. But look, let's hope, fingers crossed, we get Fairyhouse at the very least. And it looks like, I think they're pretty optimistic about Newcastle too. They've had covers on all week. So Mark, let's get stuck into it. Where do you want to go first? You pick. Do you want to go Saturday Fairyhouse, Newcastle, Sunday Fairyhouse, whatever you like?
Jesus, if it's spoiled for choice for the weekend, it's in it. I think Fairyhouse, we'll keep it local here. I can't wait for the weekend here, and I hope to God we do get the green light. As you said, 7:30 in the morning, we'll know better. But I went back and looked at this meeting last year, and I think there was 6 different Cheltenham Festival winners that came out of it, and a bundle of more farm lines that you'd have to. There were season shaping farm lines in some ways. Even a race like the Royal Bond last year with Marine National, Irish Point, Astro Diamond, Champ Kiley, the first 4 homegrown win grade 1s before the season is out again. And even races like the Juvenile Hurdle as well, where you had Lossiemouth beating Zarek the Brave, Galway Hurdle implications there. I think Comfort Zone went and won a couple of grade 2s as well. And further down the field, you had Risk Bell just touched off in a Boodle. So listen, this is proper racing this weekend. And I think Fairyhouse, for all that we've got, Constitution Hill, the most exciting horse in the country, or in training, I should say, over at Newcastle. I just think in terms of depth, I'm really looking forward to Fairyhouse. And the Saturday card is quite good. And, even I think that maiden hurdle to kick off proceedings between Firefox and Ballyburn. And we've got Hellbig Dream, a Group 1 winner as well, and the flats thrown in there too. So, even from a maiden hurdle point of view, you don't know where you'll come from, Vince. It's serious racing throughout.
I'll bring that one up on screen. That's the 12:15, isn't it? No, it's not. It's the 12:50 Saturday. Here we go. This really is a cracker of a race, isn't it? You've got Ballyburn, who's probably one of the best bumper horses we saw last season. And then you've got Firefox, who I really like, Firefox. Helvic Dream. You've also got a thing in here called Errancy, won a bumper in France. JP McManus won with Willie Mullins. That's a half brother to Durasso, which is a hell of a horse. You're talking about a 150 something rated horse there too. So what do you make of that maiden hurdle particularly?
Do you know what? I would have been cautious in terms of some of Willie's horses, in terms of young horses coming through lately, because of just the shaping like they need the run. We obviously seen high profile last weekend. Tully Hill turned over at a sharp price, and Jolly Cura led maybe in a race that didn't pan out as they might have expected in Tramore, beaten at a sharp price. But you see the machine wheels beginning to turn yesterday at Thurles, and I think maybe, no more than I thought with Gordon Elliott when we were heading into Down Royal where he dominated. For that extra week where the meeting got delayed, I don't think it was any harm to them. I think every week that goes by, these Mullins horses are getting sharper. But I was listening to Patrick Mullins yesterday at Thurles speaking, and he warned that he did think Ballyburn was going to sharpen up for the run. And I think the advantage of Firefox, he had a run over hurdles back around this time last year at Navan. 3-time bumper winner. His form is rock solid wherever you look, and he's had the advantage of a run. I think he's a proper one now, to be quite honest. I think he could easily be grade 1 class over hurdles this season in the Novice division. Ballyburn obviously has the potential too, but when it comes to this weekend, I just think race fitness, sharpness of already having to run over hurdles as well. Firefox is where I'd be pointing my pen, I suppose. But it's as good as a graded race, I suppose, when you have horses like this in it. Like we see sometimes graded race across the water, and we see a maiden hurdle like this. I know which formula I think is stronger anyway, and look at Firefox, very exciting for the year ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when Firefox won up the north in a bumper recently up there that Gordon was on about the Royal Bond as a possible for the horse. So the fact he's only going for the maiden, well, I haven't said that this might be harder than the Royal Bond the way it looks, because there's some serious horses in here, like Helvic Dream. What a talent that was on the flat, and Noel Mead, his horses are still bombing as well. So he's had a great year. This could be a cracking race, and even some of the others in here. There's a few like that one that I was talking about there, the JP one as well. That could be anything. They've given that nearly 2 years off since they got it, which seems to be Willie has a tendency to do that with some of the good ones, doesn't he? That he puts them away for a year or two before he really lets them loose, wraps them up in cotton wool or whatever he does with them. I don't know.
It's so funny you mentioned it, because actually that's my column there at Field this week. It was that very topic that I looked at, and I was actually looking at Willie's horses that were 155 or higher last season on Racing Post ratings, and I think there's something along the lines of 390 days was the average time it took for the new recruits to his yard to appear. And we've seen, Ergome's nearly at 700 days, Appreciated's in the 600s, like State Man 588, I think. Whatever it is about the system of giving them time, and it was just something that pricked my ears. Gavin Cromwell, for his launch of the Fairyhouse Winter Festival last week, he just talking about pointers coming to him, and just that he feels that when you get them in that season as 4-year-olds, it can be difficult to press on with them and really have a season with them that first time, which can be hard for an owner when they've spent considerable sums to sit back and say, okay, we're going to have to play the long game. I mightn't see this horse for 9 months. But Gavin was saying, even if you get one in the autumn, you might just get them to Punchestown Festival, 4 or 5 months later. But that's it. Like, there's, in terms of time, I think to see the long haul, the blueprint is there at Willie. It seems to work, giving those young horses time, adapt to the system. And who am I to question the champion trainer?
No, you have it. But look, you're talking a bit there about the money paid for some of these and the point-to-points and the owners. Well, just have a quick look at the bumper on Saturday in Fairyhouse. There's an interesting horse here, Jalon Dudares, Gordon Elliott, for Gigginstown. Look at the money they paid for this. 420,000 sterling after it won a Lingstown point-to-point. That turns out that's 3 times as much as Constitution Hill cost. You'd like to think you'd be getting your money back. They get 6,300 of it back if they win this bumper. It's a funny game, isn't it? This national hunt with these mega owners spending crazy money. Like you look at John Bon as well. What was he? 570,000. He's won 11 of 13 starts so far, and he's still 60 grand behind what his purchase price cost in prize money. So, like, it doesn't make sense, incredible. Does it? From a financial point of view, there's no sense in this at all, is there really?
Well, look, it's not what we should be saying, I suppose, from a market point of view. I agree with you, like, especially when you think residual-wise, you're buying a gelding. It's not like, we're buying a possible stallion prospect. And actually, I spoke to Anthony Bromley this week. Obviously, Amanda has very much experience in France, Source and Caudos Star, lots of champions down the years. One thing he mentioned to me last week I thought was quite interesting was that the recent young stock sale in France, it was nearly held against you if you were a gelding. He thought that the colts were by far the more attractive proposition in that market. And even, let's say, in one of the first 3-year-old hurdles of the year in France, the pre-rush, I think 7 of the first 8 home were colts this year. And he said, beforehand, you were doing well to find 1 colt in it. So there seems to be a renewed emphasis over there, I suppose. Firstly, there's new investment there, it seems, where those French horses, there's more domestic interest in buying them young, training them, keeping them in France, and maybe not even with us seeing them over here in years to come, that the hope they could retire one to be a stallion. One of their best horses, Jigme, over there, 3-year-old, went basically unbeaten through the year. He was retired to stud after a very, very good season, winning the equivalent to the 3-year-old champion hurdle. And I seen the world record broken for the most expensive national hunt yearling last week as well, 265,000. But again, colts, and that seems to be an emphasis for them. I just think it's mad here, as you put it, like John Bond 570, some of those huge prices. Aren't you reclaim it in prize money or punting? And it's not exactly going under the radar punting wise with a price tag like that on your profile, but it's amazing. But the market is always changing. It'll just be fascinating to see how that French side of things shape up. Apparently, it was harder for the Irish buyers as well to buy those young horses to come here as stores, let's say. So it's always changing, but it's crazy money.
Yeah, well, look, you talk about punting them, fair enough, with the likes of JP. I'm sure he gets a few quid out, or got a few quid out of John Bon along the way. But Michael O'Leary's not a punter, and yet he's spending 420,000 sterling on a horse for what? Like, in the sense that this horse could go and win a Gold Cup and he'd still be in a hole. It's amazing, isn't it? Just look, I can never figure it out, and I think it's getting. We know, look, the way it's gone here. There's only 4 big stables left in Ireland, really, in the national hunt side of things, and it's getting more concentrated year by year. You just wonder, it's not the game it was, is it? From, like, I'd say, for me, maybe not for you, but from you, I suppose you've seen all the top horses the last 10, 12 years. You've been following 14 years maybe, but for me, you go back to your Denolis and those sort of ones, that there were lots of those type of horses that could come through in the national hunt. There's less and less chance now, isn't there?
And you long for that, and that's why when you do see stories like a Hewitt pop up, obviously that's the extreme, but like that's why you really appreciate them. Or even a Master McShee a couple of seasons ago, Paddy Corkery, them type of results. Absolutely, you welcome them, and I think it gives everybody a bit of hope that it can happen, because it is so difficult to compete. And I think there's a stat Brian Flanagan might have tweeted there yesterday after Thurles that something like 50% of the races that were run in Ireland in a recent period, basically Willie and Gordon for the whole thing. And then you look at other cards. Obviously, Gavin Cromwell is growing. Henry the Bromhead isn't going anywhere either. It's so difficult for guys below that tier, and trading is the vehicles to keep the wheels on the road. And when you have to trade your best horse probably to the guy that's going to beat you as well, that becomes even more problematic. So it is a difficult system. I don't know exactly how you solve it, because I do get that maybe like in an Irish national, I wouldn't be against potentially putting a cap of 5 maybe on a yard for, like, let's say your marquee race like that. I wouldn't mind 1 yard or one owner having a cap of 5 to give a marquee race like that a chance. But by and large, like we look at the John Durkin last weekend, if Willie isn't there to fill it up, Morgiana the same. Where are we with the spread of horses? They're just so much concentrated in few hands. It's a very difficult conundrum. And just actually on the point you make with the huge money purchases, like that's one thing you see as well with Willie. Incredible recruitment down there, and I think of his 88 top horses, let's say on 140 plus, let's say last season, I think 48 of them were private purchases. So we don't never even get to see what they've cost in the background too. But it's an incredible machine, and like what a time for Irish racing too, with quality. But it's probably never been harder to compete if you're in the middle tier or lower.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look, we'll move on to let's go keep with Fairyhouse and have a look at Sunday. There's some very interesting races Sunday, isn't there? One I was looking at was this 12.25, this juvenile hurdle. You talk about this. We did the Cheltenham Festival winner last year there. Lossiemouth won this. We've got some serious talent in this. What did you make of this one? Lots of them coming from France is the first thing, which we've already discussed.
Yeah, I look, a little bit of guesswork required, I suppose. If there was one takeaway I took from doing Willie Mullins' press morning this year, it was that the depth of 3-year-old hurdlers he has to play with seems to be off the charts this season, more than I can ever remember him flagging horses. It seemed like every third horse he mentioned, he said, that could be a triumph horse, that could be a triumph horse. And Batman Girac was one that he did mention. And I look at Paul Wright here, you'd have to say that, it's stating the obvious, but, it'll be interesting to see what the market makes of him, I suppose. First him up a hood on as well. Must be a keen goer in that sense. I wouldn't love it first him up. And with the yard maybe improving for the run, I think Patrick mentioned as well yesterday that he felt Christmas would be the time we'd see them. But I actually thought the Cala Conti, won an egg and spoon race in Avon. We learned nothing there, but I just thought she went about it with a real swagger. And Gordon, again, we have a benefit of a run here recently. I like that angle. I just thought, for all that it was really difficult to put, to quantify just how good the performance was, I thought the visual was all there. She did it in second gear. I'd nearly rather take a chance on Calaconti, to be quite honest, but it's not a race that I'd be getting strongly involved in punting, given, we're looking at unknowns here. Like, I'm not going to claim to know the strength of a run like Nara's at all times in April. I'm not going to say that I have an unbelievable handle on it, but I see a couple of them hooded here coming in first start in Ireland, and I have one that has the benefit of the run, and I really liked what I saw. The vibe seemed to be confident as well in terms of what they rate her in Gordon's, I think. So I'd probably go Calaconti, but I wouldn't be bullish, Vincent.
Yeah, that was a winner in France as well. The other one, the thing to note here for me is I agree with you about Willie. He does seem to think he's got some serious 3-year-old hurdlers going in for the juvenile section. But this Batman Girac finished 9 1/4 lengths behind Majborough, which he also trains. Now it did win after that, Batman Girac, but I'd be looking at this with a view to the future with Majborough, because I know that he thinks Majborough is one of his dark horses. He gave it to Emma when she was down there at that stable tour. So that's one I have in my notebook anyway. So however Batman Girac runs, you'd like to think Majborough is a fair bit better. So interesting race anyway. Let's move on to there's another one here before we get to the big races. I thought this was an interesting race as well. This Portistown Handicap Chase. I don't know whether you looked at this 3 mile 5 Handicap Chase. We've got the first 3 home from the Cork National running in this. Sir Bob beat Call the Tune a short head that day. That was a cracking race last month. What did you make of this?
I think as far as some of the more valuable handicap chases go in the calendar, and this is worth 45 grand, it's one of the better ones, I suppose, in that department. I actually don't always think it's the deepest of them. And I think, a horse with Fairyhouse form, or a horse that is a proven stayer, I think it's going to take an awful long way in it. Listen, Gordon in these races is generally your starting point a lot of the time. And I actually thought the top weight Dial Car gone at the first in the Tri-Town. So very difficult to read anything in from that. But Gordon, he had a bit of luck with one that came from All Meads and Beacon Edge straight away off the bat. I didn't think he ran badly at Cork, and if you viewed that through the lens that he was likely to come forward for it, and then he obviously didn't get a chance to show it in the Tri-Town. I just thought he could be possibly one that's a little overlooked in it as well. And just obviously very, very small sample size. But Danny Gilligan as well, he's had 4 rides in valuable handicap chases over 2-6 or further. He's won a Mayo National at 12 to 1, a Tri-Town at 20 to 1, a Galway Play at 13 to 2, and he's third in the Munster National at 20 to 1. He's whatever he's done to start off his career in these staying handicap chases, it is working. But just thought off the top weight, a horse that once thought to be proper graded class horse, I suppose, and just touched off in a Paddy Power last season off an identical mark. I just thought he was one that could be a little bit overpriced potentially on the day. But Manila Crooner coming in here as well in excellent shape. Yes. I liked how he dug it out in Wexford, and Velvet Elvis is one as well. I think if you knew he was sharp first of all, I think there's races in Velvet Elvis off 143, but his profile has tended to be that he does come on with racing. Yeah,
interesting race. I saw I think I found one at a big price here down the bottom. Another one of Con Gibney's, Regina Dracones. It's won 3 of its 6 races in Fairyhouse. 3 of its 6 starts in Fairyhouse. It was also 5th in this race last year. Wasn't beaten too far, and it's now £5 lower in the ratings. Just thought it might have a chance at a big price each way, but you've got this Glenquin Castle here as well, 3rd in the Cork National. There's lots of them with chances. This is wide open. We'll move on to then some of the bigger stuff, the real races, as we say. Great to see 8 runners here first off in the Royal Bond. What do you make of this? This could be a cracker, couldn't it?
Big time, yeah. And I think, it's funny, it's probably Willie's not one of his strongest teams. He's strong at this race in the sense of Bloodstock and Horizontal Dairy. They're solid horses, but, one's rated 138, the other's rated 134. So, like Gordon, numerically, I'd say what he's feeling there as a team. The fact that Jack Kennedy has sided with Farron Glory, I took that as very interesting. Because what's up, Darlin? Look, maybe if you said that D Capo had put in a run that was straight and true and hadn't gone halfway out to County Meath on his way around Navan, he would have beaten him. But I liked what's up Darren put its head down in the closing stages in the for auction. The fact Jack rides Farron Glory, who visually was very impressive, I thought, when we made in hurdle at Clonmel. This is an Irish Panther put in his place again yesterday. I think he's a smart horse. I wouldn't be mad at his finishing effort all the time. But I thought there was a lot to like about Farron Glory with a view to improving. But as far as star quality goes, Antubber is the one I think where I'll be really, really looking forward to seeing. I think if there is a horse that it could step up to be a Ballymore horse, to be, I don't know if Supreme, whether he wants necessarily 2 miles, he could 2.5 could be a trip when he gets to the very, very springtime of the season. But I thought for a horse we've been waiting on, because obviously he was highly thought of, won his point to point impressively, they had to wait on him. And I thought the style in which he did it, given he probably looked at it like he would sharpen up for it. pretty impressive now in the grand scheme of things. Champagne Admiral wins a low-key maiden hurdle on his next start too. Wouldn't be getting bowled over by that, but still it's no harm for the form. Just thought this horse, if there is one, I could say maybe has the star potential to be a real grade one horse. I thought it was Tubber.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I'm surprised he's not favourite with William Hill there and their early betting on it. They've Encanto Bruno in. People tend to go with that. You see the bookmakers often, they put too much emphasis on Cheltenham winners at those October and November meetings. I'm not sure. Look, Encanto Bruno's a fair horse, but I just don't think it'll be favoured to beat on Tubber come post time Sunday. That's my opinion on it, at least. I'd be agreeing with you there. Yeah,
I'd agree. I think Encanto Bruno soft ground as well. Will he definitely relish it?
Yes.
I know we're going to have a little change in the weather, but I think he's better on better ground.
Yeah, good stuff. We're in agreement again. All right, we'll move on to the next big one, the Drinmore Novice Chase. Let's be clear about it. I really liked that the last day. Gavin Cromwell's very impressive down in Cork. What did you make of that, Mark, or what do you make of this race?
Yeah, I love when a horse is able to stay further distances over hurdles. He was a real 3-miler, no issue last season. But I love when them horses can come back over fences and be effective over shorter because the jumping is so good. I think it gives you great chances both when you get down to a battle and a finish that that's in your locker. He's a lovely horse, really attractive. But Found a 50 is a horse I've had a lot of time for throughout. Now listen, if we asked you before Cheltenham last season, who's the one novice in Ireland that is the best one that didn't travel, I nearly would have said this horse. And he let me down with a bang now when it came to entry. He didn't fire, but I'm just willing to say that wasn't his running. They ran him back quickly at Punchestown. He was over the top. And, I thought the way he got it done at Down Royal to come back for some more offences. He is a chaser. I really liked it for all. It was the complexion of the race wasn't as you'd ideally want with fences taken out. But that form last season with Corbett's Cross, we'll get an idea maybe if Corbett's Cross was to go and win his beginner's chase at Fairyhouse on Saturday, that might enhance my confidence. But I thought that was an unbelievable duel between the two of them. Thought it was just real high class form outside of Cheltenham and the major grade ones. And even the maiden hurdle he won last season at Fairyhouse, I know Ryder who rode it felt that was as good a maiden hurdle as he'd ridden in all season. So look, he's one for me, the potential in terms of talent. I think he's every bit as good as let's be clear about it potentially. But he has let me down the path, so I'd like to see Corbett's Cross go and frank the form maybe before. But it's a great race. Charge is probably the one that I'd be more keen to take on. He's 10. I know he has experience over fences, but he's able to pull some incredible rabbits out of the hat. But if he wins a great one with Charge at the age of 10 over fences, it wasn't something I would have had on my bingo card maybe 12 months ago.
I'd agree. The other thing you mentioned there is talking about fences and hurdles being taken out with low sun. I see they've moved the fences and hurdles, some of them into the back straight in Fairyhouse to try and alleviate that problem this weekend. So hopefully that's a good sign. They're going to have to start doing that. A lot of tracks, I think, the way it's gone, isn't it? We're seeing lots of that happening in recent times. It's a nuisance during the winter. For 1 minute we're trying to get the frost to thaw out to get the racing on, and then we've got the low sun and we start missing obstacles. It can be a real pain some of the time with this national hunt, even though we love it.
Who take a job as a clerk of the course? I mean, it's you could never keep everybody happy, and I do get it. Like, it is, I think, fair play to Fairyhouse to be proactive. And that's all you want from tracks. Do as much as you can. We all appreciate that there's only so much we can do in some scenarios, but if you're proactive and thinking in that direction, it's very much appreciated.
I agree. Now we move on to the big one, the Hatton's Grace. For me, anyway, I think the favourite's too short a price. For all things considered, I think there's a huge amount of hype involved here, as much as anything else. We know Impere Pass is obviously a serious horse. It's going champion hurdle is the plan, along with State Man from Willie Mullins trying to take on Constitution Hill. But 8-13 in this seems too short for me. What do you make of it?
Yeah, do you know what? I think Imperial Pass will give Constitution Hill a rattle this season, and maybe that's folly. I don't know. I just feel that in terms of the novices, let's say last season, that would have been stepping into senior company for Constitution Hill, I don't believe the very best of them stayed hurdling to take him on. Obviously, John Bonds went chasing, etc. I feel that, as far as a young threat coming up to take on Constitution Hill and senior company, I think this is the biggest one to come. But my reservation, I suppose, this time around is, as we're talking about, some of Willie's needing a run, and this horse apparently shows very, very little at home. It's hard to get to reading him. Now, maybe that'll mean that they push a few more buttons to make sure he is up to speed for this time of year. But also, it could mean that, as a profile, he's going to improve through the season if he's that kind of a worker where he isn't over flash. So, I do agree with you. At the prices to you, Boo, if you're a fan of him at all, there is a bit of value in that. He's come here last season and he's done it. And he did it as well off a break too. He didn't have a prep. He just went straight here and got the job done. So, I'm not going to be steaming into Imperial Pass at 8-11. Even McGallop and Deschamps last week, I thought there was no reaction to that, because you know that the target all season is going to be that week in March. I still think he'll be good enough probably to win it, but will I be steaming in at 8-11? No, I'll probably be taking a watch and brief. If he does win it, though, it would really bolster my belief that he will give Constitution Hill a fight this season. But it's a good race, you know. Look at Zanuck here. I wouldn't be mad about him entirely. I didn't. Maybe Bob Ollinger's outspeeded him last time, but I think he's had enough chances. I'd be slightly disappointed if he was good enough to win it. Ashra Diamond, likeable mare, worthy of a crack at this. If Buddy won, I think if there was a result all weekend that you'd like to see for the small man having a go, you'd love to see Paul Gilligan have a crack with him and get rewarded. But I just think we're probably dealing. I feel like Imperial Pass. He's got to go and do it, but I feel like he's probably the best young horse that Constitution Hill is going to face for a while, and you know, but we've not faced Constitution Hill today, so I feel the peak of him is going to be seen in a few months' time. But I do agree the price differential is too big.
Well, just looking at this from another point of view, I presume, all things being equal, it'll be Impere Pass and Tihupu coming up the straight together with a gap to the other three. Just looking at the way the bookmakers are betting there with William Hill, they go 12 Ashro Diamond, 14 Zanahir, 14 Buddy One, nothing between the three. I'd be fancying Zanahir to be third, would you?
Yeah, but like if they ride him that way as well, like, you know, he's been ridden to finish third in the champion hurdle at Cheltenham. Twice he's been third in an entry hurdle. You know, yeah, like 2.5 to probably his trip. I suppose when it comes down to the heat of battling, if you're dependent on to win at a short price at 5-4 like last time, he touched 1-3 and run and got beaten last time. That's where I wouldn't be mad about him. But in a race like this, absolutely, I could see him being the value, I suppose, for that without market.
You might be getting 5-4 without the two. Could look like a bit of value, all right. But then again, I do worry a little bit about the trip. It's 2 miles, 4 furlongs and 70 yards. That last 70 yards, I don't think he wants this sort of trip myself. I think he's more of a 2-miler. But anyway, we shall see. We'll move on. Let's go across to have a look at the big race in the UK on Saturday at Newcastle. We've got some crackers here. Did I hit the right one first? I did. The Fighting Fifth, Constitution Hill. Some horse. He's unbeatable. He's 1-7. What do you make of it? Is he the best horse you've seen in your lifetime?
I don't know. No, I couldn't go that far yet. I mean, look at it depends how you value that or how you rate that. To me, longevity is a huge factor in the greatness discussion with any of these horses. I know I spoke about Carlos Dario. I might have a little bit of bias, but for him to come back 9 seasons and keep turning up and keep doing it, I think in terms of your points you're earning to be among the greats, I think that is really up there. And Constitution Hill, brilliance maybe, you know, absolute extreme talent. Yeah, he's in the conversation. But I think, you know, adaptability, you know, different tasks you're setting your career, longevity. If this horse blazes through his next 3 or 4 seasons doing what he's doing, 100%, I'm happy to reassess my thoughts. And he is absolutely fabulous to watch. He's a brilliant racehorse, no question. Not been negative on him, and he's only 6. But just in the You're asking a very serious question there about the greatest you've seen, and I don't know. What do you think? Would you have thoughts in that regard?
Well, I have to go as far as to say, in all my years, I think he's the best I've ever seen. Now, I know it's early days, and he can fall in the hole very soon, or anything can go wrong. But what I've seen so far, I don't think I've seen anything as good as this. I would have said, going back a few years ago, maybe the likes of an Our Connor was potentially one of the best I'd seen, just for pure brilliance. I'm not talking about necessarily the longevity and that he, you know, won 4 Gold Cups or did whatever, but just when you see something brilliant, you just have to embrace it when you see it. It's like, look, in soccer or whatever, you can talk about Messi being the greatest or Ronaldo and all they've done for all the years, but someone like a George Best was just something different class, you know, that kind of a way, that just on a different level altogether. And I think this horse is probably the best I've ever seen. Hopefully I'll be proved wrong at some stage, and that we'll see Impere Pass beat him or whatever it may be, or something comes along that'll be even more spectacular. But so far for me, he's the best. I think so. Really looking forward to this. I hope this meeting goes ahead now, because it's such an exciting horse. Obviously, up to now, we've seen very little opposition to him. Impere Pass, perhaps you're right. Maybe come March, he'll be the danger. I can't see Stateman. I couldn't believe that he shortened in the betting for his win there a couple of weeks ago. I can't work that one out, because unless something goes wrong with Constitution Hill, Stateman does not beat him. I don't care how many times they run against each other. Impere Pass, obviously a different kettle of fish. Maybe there's a possibility there. But yeah, really excited about Constitution Hill. What about the race itself? There's no danger, is there?
No, I don't think so. And I'd agree with you. I mean, it's this time of year, isn't it? When you see a horse turns up and proves he has 4 legs and a tail, and you know, you can get cut cut for a race when you see an extreme example like that against Constitution Hill, because to me, I thought maybe ride-wise that State Man got at Cheltenham. I didn't know if it saw the best effect, but at the same time, I think you could try different things, and I don't think you're going to beat him with State Man. He's a really solid horse. You know, if you own him, my God, he's a dream to turn up to all them 2 mile grade ones and go and collect in Ireland. But yeah, I don't think he's in this horse's league, unfortunately. Because it's a very rare few. I have huge respect for your view. You're so sweet in him. In that department, but yeah, Love Envoy, I suppose, if I was to be, I don't think she's going to tighten up for this at all, because I think it's Constitution is going to go and win. But I thought actually, if you were looking at the Cheltenham market, I don't love Lossiemouth for the mare's hurdle this season. I just think 2.5 is going to ask a new question. It's hard for a 4-year-old filly to step up. You know, maybe an Astro Dime is going to be the one, but Gallimar Sawyer in the same camp. They're top 3 in the bet. I just thought 10-1 Love Envoy for the mare's hurdle. For a filly that gave Honeysuckle a real scare last season, I thought that might be a little bit overlooking her, but I don't think you're going to. I think you can be calm on that unless she causes an almighty shock this weekend. I don't see that coming, but I just thought in general she's maybe a little bit underplayed for the mare's hurdle.
Yeah, that mare's hurdle, I'd agree with you about Lossiemouth. Those 4-year-olds, like if they've a very hard season as a 4-year-old, it's very hard to come back from that. We've seen millions of those down the years. Those Triumph hurdle winners never do anything afterwards. So I'd be inclined to think, yeah, take on Lossiemouth anyway until we're proven wrong. Love Envoy could be an interesting one, all right, yeah. Harry Fry and Johnny Burke is going great guns as well. Obviously, you'd like to see it finish second here, wouldn't you? If she's out the back of the field, out the back of the TV, maybe not. But so it's always a worry with the first run of the season. But yeah, let's see where we go there. And then the other really interesting one is it this last race, the Rehearsal Chase? It is, yeah, Shishkin. This is really odd. Is it to come back 7 days after refusing to race?
Yeah, like I mean, it wouldn't be with my money. I would be getting stuck into that sort of a profile. Like it was strange going for the cheek pieces, and then you see that happen. And you know, I know Nicky, I'm sure he's genuine in the sense that he's saying, you know, it caught them entirely by surprise. But you just don't like to see it creeping in. And I thought at Cheltenham last season, you know, for all that he ran on, and you can make the case that, you know, it was gutsy that he'd stay battling instead plugging at it. I just didn't like that a horse with his ability to do it at 2 miles was getting up to 2.5, 2.5, and was just making it look a little bit laboured. I think when horses start doing that, it's not always a case of their gears been dented. It sometimes just is. Maybe attitude could be slightly mixed, but maybe you're entitled to say it now. She refuses to race too. I just wasn't wild about it. You know, we've seen Long Press last year come here and do it off a big rating. Did he do it off 164 possibly?
Carried 12 stone as well. Yeah.
Like, but what's going to come and beat him? Like, if Away from the Sea can go and chin Shishkin, or you know, it'll be some picture for Ben Haslam to hang on the wall. But I don't. It's a no play race for me. Without meaning to sound boring, I just feel that, you know, whether he fires or not is one question, and then what version of him do you see is another. He will stay the trip. I'd be confident that on his entry run last season. But he's a bit of an enigma now, isn't he? It's going to be one of the fascinating ones, because you'll be watching the race for 5 minutes before at the start to see how he lines up, and then it'll be interesting to see whether the weight will get the better of him too. So look, but fair play to him for having a go. It spices up a race that probably we wouldn't be discussing otherwise, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it'll be fascinating. It'll be one you'll definitely be watching at 3:05 if it's on, just to see what happens. At least watch the start of it, if nothing else. No, it will be a fascinating race. And as I say, like, you know, top weights can win this. He's a class horse here. On his day, if he produces his best, he wins at 6-4, doesn't he? That's the bottom line here. But it's like everything, isn't it? It's, will he do it? Won't he do it? Are you willing to take the 6-4? If he, you know, what price would you back Shishkin at? If he was 2-1, would you be tempted? If he was 9-4, like, where does it get to? That's the whole point, isn't it? So it will be a fascinating race. But look, it's a fascinating weekend's racing altogether, isn't it? Terrific to see it all. I'm really looking forward to it, and thanks for going through it with me. So what would be your best bet of the weekend if you had to pick one out of all of them?
I actually, if it was in another yard, I think he'd probably be one you'd be dying to run in a handicap hurdle. But Willie Mullins runs Gust of Wind, and I think the Willow Warm hurdle, it's a 4-year-old only hurdle at Fairyhouse on Saturday at 2:35. But this horse, when he came from France and ran in juvenile hurdles last season, I remember when he ran at the Dublin Racing Festival, he was a little disappointing, but the vibes about him seemed to be that he would be well up there, able to compete with Gallimar Sawyer, Lossiemouth. He then goes to finish his fourth in a Triumph, and you know, you have Lossiemouth, Gallimar Sawyer, and then the first 3 in front of him all go in grade ones again before the season is out. He's officially rated 135. Like, I think he's miles better than that, and he gets a nice pull at the weight from Nusrat. This I'd like that. I just think it's a really good opportunity. So look at maybe him, and I might have a look as well at Hunting Brook. Maybe the two of them in a little double, possibly. He runs in the 310 on Saturday. He's won Gordon Elliott horses.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. 104 is what he's rated. I just think there's every chance it's to be better than it for all. The handicapper is making life tough. But, he just could be one now that we think, God, how was he ever rated 104 maybe someday? So maybe Hunting Brook in the 310 at Fairyhouse and Gust of Wind in the 235 as well, both on Saturday. So half an hour to make or break us.
No, you have it. I'll go for another Gordon Elliott one in the 1250 Fairyhouse Saturday as well. Firefox, we talked about it already. We both agreed on this. I think Firefox is very good. Well, potentially very good over hurdles. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And I think it might catch Ballybourne a little bit cold as well, which hasn't had a run, and Willies aren't exactly firing on all cylinders at the minute. Look, it's a great weekend. If you are having a bet, do bet responsibly. And if you're thinking of opening a betting account, open one with William Hill. No harm, because they're sponsoring this. Mark, look, thanks very much for joining me this week. Really appreciate it. And the best of luck with your punting and your journalism work and your songwriting and whatever else you're up to these days. Yeah.
We'll keep trying anyway. Won't try and do a shishkin at the start anyway. We'll stay rolling. Thanks a million.
Great stuff. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.